All right, let's dive into one of the most iconic and maybe one of the most controversial novels ever written, J.D. Salinger's The Catcher in the Rye. It's that famous story about a cynical teenager who seems to hate the entire world, or at least that's what it looks like on the surface. We're going to get into it. So our story really kicks off with our main character, 16-year-old Holden Caulfield, right in the middle of a personal crisis. He's just standing on a hill, looking down at his prep school on a freezing cold day, and he's about to take us through what are probably the most intense few days of his entire life. And believe me, this isn't his first crisis. This is actually the fourth school that Holden has been kicked out of. Yeah, 4. That number alone tells you pretty much everything you need to know. We're dealing with someone who either can't fit in or maybe just flat out refuses to. So who is this kid, really? And what's his deal? Let's get right to the heart of what makes Holden tick. His one-man war against what he calls a completely phony world. You know, to really understand Holden, you have to understand this one word. Phony. It is his ultimate insult. It's the label he slaps on everything and everyone he hates. Hypocrisy, fake people, adults just playing roles. And in his eyes, the world is just overflowing with them. The final straw at Pencey Prep, his latest school, is this big fight with his roommate. Now, he's supposed to stick around until Christmas break starts in a few days, but Holden's just done. He's had enough. So he packs his bags, throws on that now famous red hunting hat, and just takes off for New York City. But here's the thing, his great escape to New York City, it's not exactly the amazing adventure he might have been hoping for. Nope, it's really more of a deep dive into loneliness. He's totally adrift in this huge city, and as we're about to see, he's spiraling, and he's spiraling fast. What's really kind of shocking is just how quickly this all happens. The entire core of the story, all the main events, they take place over just a couple of really chaotic days. I mean, he leaves school Saturday night, and by Monday, he's already hit rock bottom. He spends these days just desperately trying to find some kind of real, genuine human connection. He's calling up old girlfriends, trying to talk to strangers. He even hires a prostitute at his hotel, only to find out all he really wants to do is talk to her. Every single attempt just blows up in his face, leaving him more alone and more hurt than he was before. So while Holden is pushing away this whole phony adult world, his mind keeps coming back to two people who, for him, represent something pure and innocent. First, there's his little sister Phoebe. She's smart, she's loving, she gets him. And then there's his younger brother Allie, who died of leukemia. Allie's death is this huge, unspoken tragedy that just haunts Holden's every thought. It's the trauma that's really fueling all his anger. And all of this brings us to probably the most famous metaphor in the entire book. It's this fantasy Holden has that gives the novel its title, and it really shows us what he wants more than anything in the world. So, what on earth is The Catcher in the Rye? Well, it's basically a job that Holden completely made up for himself. He pictures this big field of rye where all these little kids are playing, and his job is to stand on the edge of a cliff and catch them if they get too close to falling off. See, he couldn't save his brother, so now he just fantasizes about saving everybody else. And here it is, right from him. This isn't about being some kind of superhero. It's about protecting innocence. He sees adulthood, that whole world of phonies, as a cliff, a terrible fall, and he just wants to stop anyone, especially kids, from taking that plunge. Okay, so after days of just wandering around and spiraling downward, Holden makes one last desperate attempt to connect with the only person he really trusts. And this moment with his sister, Phoebe, becomes the absolute turning point of the whole story. His plan is pretty simple. Sneak in, say goodbye to Phoebe, and then just disappear. Go out west. But when he tells Phoebe he's running away, she shows up with her own suitcase packed and says she's coming with him. This completely throws him off. Her absolute love for him forces him to actually face what he's doing, and it all leads them to the carousel in Central Park. And this right here, this is the emotional peak of the entire novel. As he's standing there watching Phoebe ride the carousel, leaning way out to try and grab that gold ring, something inside of him just clicks. In that single moment, he has this massive epiphany. He finally understands, you have to let kids reach for the gold ring. You have to let them take risks. You have to let them fall sometimes. He gets that he can't be the catcher in the rye. He can't protect everyone from the simple, unavoidable act of growing up. And with that realization, with that acceptance, comes this incredible sense of peace. As he just sits on a bench in the pouring rain, watching his sister go round and round, he feels something he hasn't felt this entire time. He feels genuinely happy. So, what happens after this huge breakthrough? Well, the ending of the book is famously up in the air, leaving us, the readers, to try and figure out where Holden actually ends up. And this is where we get the final piece of the puzzle. It turns out this entire story we've just been told has been one long memory. Holden is actually telling it to us from some kind of hospital or institution out in California, where he was sent to get better after he had a total breakdown in New York. And this, of course, is the million-dollar question every single person asks after finishing the book. Is he better? Is he going to be okay? Salinger doesn't give us a neat and tidy answer. Holden mentions he might go to a new school in the fall, but honestly, he doesn't sound too sure about anything. And this leads to the book's final, beautiful paradox. After spending hundreds of pages complaining about all the phonies in his life, he admits something pretty surprising. He misses them. He misses every single one of them. And it just reveals that all that anger was really just a shield for his own deep loneliness and his desperate need to connect with people. So why? Why does this story about some angsty teenager from the 1950s still hit so hard today? Well, maybe it's because Holden gives a voice to a fear that's inside all of us. The fear of losing our innocence. That messy, confusing, painful journey from being a kid to becoming an adult, and that deep down fear of becoming a phony yourself, well, that's a feeling that, for a lot of us, never really goes away.